Welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're listening, chances are you want to create happiness around you and thrive in your life. We're glad you're here and you've come to the right place. This podcast will inspire and motivate you to not merely survive your recovery journey, we'll give you the tools to build or strengthen your foundation to thrive and flourish in your life. Each week, we'll come together as a community to have authentic conversations around addiction, recovery, and what matters. Growth and progress, not perfection. All while developing positive habits for you to utilize in your life. To learn more, please visit positiverecoverymd.com to sign up to receive the daily positive interventions that we'll review, as well as gain access to exclusive Positive Recovery content available only to Positive Recovery MD listeners. All right, let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of Positive Recovery MD with your hosts, Dr. Jason Powers, which would be I, and Julie DeNofa, Esquire, which would be you.
Me.
All right. We have a great guest today. And usually I do the intros, but you guys will have to suffer through Julie's intro because she actually knows this phenomenal person named Trina Fox. And for those of you who are just listening, you're getting robbed because she has awesome pink-ish hair. There's probably like a special chartreuse or some type of color I'm unaware of. But anyway, yeah. Julie, who do we have today?
So we have Trina Fox with us today. And Trina, go ahead and tell our listeners what color your hair actually is.
The box says blush. I'm going to go with blush.
All right. So, and let me just explain to you that Trina is not somebody that blushes easily. I've known Trina for quite a few years now, and it's always an honor and a privilege to be in her presence. She is probably one of the most grounding women that I have had the opportunity to be around. And, we came across each other through the 12-step community, and just yet another reason why I'm so grateful to be part of that recovery community, albeit in different ways. So with that, I am going to read a little bit of information from her bio. Her bio is found on her webpage for Sunrise Wellness. And I really want Trina to share with you how Sunrise Wellness got started and what the journey has looked like for her in addition to her recovery story. But her bio on her website says, it's not always an easy task to reduce a person, their spirit, personality, and experience to words. It can be said that none of us are truly who the world sees, but as one strives to develop themselves and become a more authentic and congruently developed individual, we can grow towards that consistency in who the world sees and how one sees themselves. So I feel like for Trina that she's found this and that she zippers it up every day. So I love that about her. And I love that she says what she means and she means what she says. For our listeners who might also know Trina, she's somebody that people go to kind of just seek a way of I'm having this struggle. How can I get through this? What can I do? And she's got great ways of helping people to kind of get to where they need to go while letting them find it on their own way. She is a life success coach. She also does acupuncture. She does yoga. She really just continues to her own path towards the light while taking comfort in knowing that her journey will help illuminate the light of some of those who may still be living in the shadows. Oftentimes, Trina has been the brightest light in my day, and I can't wait to get started on this conversation. Dr. Powers, I'm turning it to you.
So I apologize if I'm repeating something, but that was great. I don't know if you said she had a pet skunk growing up, which I thought was pretty cool.
I totally did not.
All right. Yeah. Not many people have pet skunk. I smoked skunk when I was young with my pet. I don't know if that counts, but named Paco. The skunk was Paco. Did Paco squirt at you ever? Was it ever like afraid of things it shouldn't be afraid of and just sort of its nature came? Or no? Interesting.
That's Poco, actually.
Yeah.
Coco.
It had been de-skunked.
Yeah.
It was a thing.
I don't know if it works. The descenting thing. I had a ferret growing up, and I paid all this money to have it laser, its stink glands removed, and it still smelled like musky. It was cute, but all right. So yeah, I love some of the quotes also, and for somebody who is grounding, for Julie to say that, I know it's like a great compliment. But let's see, I love Winston Churchill's my favorite. Right, if you find yourself in hell, keep going. That's one of her quotes, which is I think a testament to probably what type of work you do with other people. Yeah. So you've been sober 28 years, the 12 steps saved your life. Tell us, what it was like, what happened, and kind of what are you up to now, and include the Sunrise program, I guess, or approach that you sort of developed.
Okay, I'd love to. Thank you guys for having me. I always get a little awkward and weird in front of a camera, says my IT marketing lady. So I'll try not to be weird. So my name is Trina and I'm an alcoholic. And so my story is really it's really nothing remarkable. I grew up in a Southern Baptist family with parents that loved me and took care of me, and my needs were met, and I wasn't abused and I wasn't neglected, and there was no alcoholism in my immediate family. So it wasn't something I was familiar with at all. I came to find out later that there was alcoholism in my extended family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, but my parents sheltered us from that. We still had relationships with those family members, but we were never around when they were drinking or drunk. I kind of just grew up a real normal kid. We went to church on Sundays and had family dinners every night, and you weren't allowed to answer the phone or watch TV during dinner because it was family time. And, everything was good except for, I often laugh and say I was the dysfunction in my family. Like, my family was pretty normal till I showed up and things would go sideways. But when I was 13, my hormones kicked off, and I found boys, and I found alcohol, and I found marijuana. Marijuana didn't do anything for me but make me thirsty. So my first love was alcohol. It was my first love and my last love. My first drunk I was 14, I believe, and wasn't old enough to date, but we had a guy friend that was 16, and my parents trusted him and allowed us to go drag main with him. And for whatever reason, I was thirsty. I don't even know where it came from, but I let him know that I kind of wanted to try this drinking thing. And he picked me up to go to a party, and he had 2 bottles of Tickle Pink. So all I remember is choking down the first few drinks. It tasted awful. I couldn't stand the way it tasted, but I just fought through it. I don't really know what happened that night. Most everything I'm going to tell you is hearsay, because I blacked out my first time drinking. What I remember about that night was getting home, and I have flashes of memory of my friend being mad at me and me not knowing why he was mad. He was trying to get me home for curfew. He kind of dumped me off in front of the house, and I was greeted at the door with my dad and the preacher of our church, because they were having a get together with their Sunday school class that night. My sense of timing never improved much from that. I remember my dad being I remember the look on his face, and it's a flash, but I remember that look on his face, and I would see that look many, many times over the years. And it was a look of disappointment and just terror. Like, what is happening? I woke up the next morning in my parents' bed, which is weird when you're 14, you don't sleep with your parents, but I sat straight up in the bed, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I was wearing one of my mom's gowns, and my hair was standing straight up, because that was back during the Aquanet days. So apparently they had thrown me in the shower to try to sober me up. They had fed me coffee to sober me up. And then they ended up with a wide awake drunk. My sisters were listening through the wall. Dad was saying, "Have you been drinking?" And I'm saying, "No." My sense of honesty never improved either, by the way. When I drink, I lie. You just can't trust me when I drink, period. End of the story. So, I did that. You would think after that you would maybe go, "I'm not going to do that anymore." I got in trouble. It didn't work out. What had happened on the drive home, I found out, was my friend was trying to get me home by curfew, and I wasn't ready to leave. And so I slammed his parents' brand new Cadillac into park going down a dirt road. So that's why he was mad at me. And, my relationships, that would be the way my life would go. My relationships, my sense of timing, my parents' concern for me, worry for me. And, I did that every chance I got till I was 30 years old. By the time I was 30 years old, I was on my 3rd marriage. At that time when I met husband number 3, and we just call them numbers now, right? Like, there's husband number 1, husband number 2, and husband number 3. Husband number 1, I was 18, ready to leave home. And that was my ticket out of my parents' house. He got married. I did not. I started drinking the way I wanted to drink. He thought he got a wife. I thought I got a ticket out. Husband number 2, I got with before husband number 3 got rid of me. I always had a plan B. So husband number 3, now this one I really wanted to keep, right? Like just a quick story about how we met, just because it's hilarious. So I was living in Pensacola, Florida, and I was working for a recovery service. So we would repossess vehicles, right? And so my boss was he was an ex preacher and an ex drill sergeant, kind of a big old jackass, right? He came in one morning and said, I need you to inventory this car I just got. So I go out and it's this nice black shiny truck with lots of chrome on it. And I'm writing the inventory, right? And a leather jacket, Ray-Ban sunglasses, vial of cocaine. Don't know who this guy is, but I think I'm in love. And I will tell you that I chased that guy, manipulated that guy, and I ended up married to him. That was husband number 3. He was gorgeous. He was tall and dark hair and blue eyes. And I just remember thinking that if this guy would love me, that I was going to behave myself. Like I was going to not drink that way and not act that way when I drink and all of that. And I completely meant it. 2 weeks after we're married, I end up in a place I don't want to be with somebody I don't want to be with, doing something I don't want to be doing. And that was just the way my life went. And it went that way until I was 30 years old. That marriage had ended, was ending by and large. He was a merchant marine. So he would go offshore and he'd come back. That's a great job if you're an alcoholic woman. The check comes home, the husband goes away, perfect. So I ended up in a bar. I woke up one morning and there was a guy in my house that I had never met before. And when I asked him who the hell he was and introduced myself, apparently we had a lovely evening and he knew everything about me. And I ended up in a 2-year relationship with a crazy man that was trying to kill me. And I was in that relationship out of fear. And so at one point he was 6'8". And at one point I'd pulled a gun on him and threatened to kill him. And he called the police. So I had an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge on me. We had to move, right? I was in Pensacola. I remembered being happy in Houston. I said, we got to go to Houston. So we did. It was reduced to simple assault. Anyway, so this is when alcoholism is starting to really, really I was starting to see something's wrong here. Something is not right. And I remember driving around with this friend of mine from back home, and we were listening to Boston and drinking. And, I'm just trying to find when it was fun again. You know what I mean? Like I remembered it being fun and it was not fun anymore. I got home. I passed out. He hid my keys from me at my request. I wake up the next morning to my phone ringing. And now when I left Pensacola, Florida and Crazy Man, I moved to Houston. We didn't have an unlisted phone number. It was as if we didn't exist, right? Because I was terrified of this guy. And I wake up to my phone ringing and I answer the phone and it's the crazy man from Florida that's trying to kill me, right? And I'm looking around and my gun is in the bed with me and my gun stays under my front seat of my car. I don't know how it got here. I don't know why I have my gun. And I'm like, how did you find me? And he said, girl, you called me and talked to me for 2 hours last night. You want your address? Who does that? So I spend that whole day rocking and crying because I'm crazy. And so the next morning I call a psychiatrist because that's who you call when you're crazy. And it was called the Wechter Clinic. It's not there anymore. It was in Clear Lake. And I called this place looking for a psychiatrist and talked to these people on the phone. And I don't remember how the conversation went. They asked me to come in. For whatever reason, I showed up there and there was a man named Bill Stafford and he did intake on me and he was asking me all these questions and I was answering him. And, when I got there, I was really willing and expected to hear you're a drug addict or you're crazy. Would have been fine with either one of those. But he said the oddest thing. He said, Miss Shepherd, we cannot do anything about your depression until we treat the primary disease of alcoholism. And I was stunned and I was pretty pissed because apparently he was not listening. That is not what I said. What I was very clear about is I have a lot of life problems. Drinking my solution. I need to solve these life problems so I won't need a drink. And therein started my journey into, that's not when I got sober. They had suggested I might want to try this 12-step program. I thought that seemed extreme. So I tried to do it my way. And at some point I just gave up. I was completely defeated and I was defeated by alcohol in the beginning. And then I became defeated by alcoholism, by that hopeless state of mind and body. And pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. Boy, when they said that in the rooms, I was like, that's what I got. You got a pill for that? Because I need to get rid of that. So, that just started my journey into a 12-step program. And, in the beginning, I didn't want to do what they said. Who are they? They are the people that are in the room staying sober. They seemed extreme to me. They seemed very nosy. They were trying to mind my business. And I wasn't into that at all. I wanted to do my program over here and then do my life over here, right? And all I really wanted to do was drink like a lady. Like I just wanted to stop ending up in those places with people I didn't want to be with, doing things I didn't want to be doing. And I just couldn't seem to find which drink caused that. I kept going back to the rooms, the 12-step rooms, and I did everything I could do to not do what they were saying to do until I finally, there's something that happened between the last drink and when recovery starts, and it's miserable. It is bad. Like, drinking is my solution. I can't not drink unless I have another solution. And when I finally had enough of my self-will and my self-imposed crisis, I just went to a lady that had been doing the 12-step program for a while and said, what do I need to do? And, she took me through the 12 steps to the best of my ability. I went through those steps and wrote inventory, told her my secrets, got willing in 6 and 7 to have some of this nastiness released, and, made my 8-step list, made my amends to the best of my ability, and went about the business of trying to be of service to God and my fellows. I have done everything wrong in recovery. Everything they said don't do, I did. I can't sponsor women and tell them not to get into a relationship in the first year, because I didn't do that. I was married and got in a relationship in the rooms. Like I just got it down to a husband and 3 boyfriends instead of 8. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm making progress here. Stay out of my business. But I did everything wrong, except I kept going to meetings. I got a sponsor. I was trying to do to the best of my ability what I was told to do. And I was trying to be of service to God and my fellows. And I just kept doing that and kept doing that and kept doing that. And, I've moved around a lot. I ended up in Washington, D.C. With a bunch of resentments. And I got a home group and I got a sponsor and I unpacked my resentments and I didn't have to get loaded. And I moved around a lot. Then I went from there to Northern Virginia. And from Northern Virginia, I got homesick for Texas. I ended up in Clute, Texas. If anybody knows where Clute is, few people go there on purpose, but I did.
Yeah.
But I got a home group and I got a sponsor and I unpacked my resentments and I got to stay sober. So I just done that a lot. Then I went to Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, and about 7 years ago, I made it back to this area. What I can say about sobriety is it has not been a picnic. It hasn't been you get sober and life gets great. That's not my experience. My experience was you get sober, life is really messy, but you don't have to do that messiness alone. And there's a solution to the messiness, whatever the messiness is, relationships, finances, whatever. I didn't do any of it by myself. And there was always somebody around that could direct me on what to do next so that I didn't end up in such a jam. So 6 years ago, my boyfriend lives in Galveston County. I got laid off. I was in property management. I had a 22-year career in property management, loved it, was really good at it. It was very good to me, a girl with no college education. And I moved. That's why I moved around a lot. I made really decent money, worked hard, did great at it. And you never get laid off in that business. But I got laid off in that business. I was living in Corpus Christi. I was really sick. I had aspergillus in my lungs from living in a mold-filled house, and I was feeling awful all the time. And my boyfriend lives here, and he was dying of type 2 diabetes. He just had uncontrolled stress and uncontrolled diabetes. And when I got laid off and called him and said, okay, I got laid off, but here's my plan. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And he said, why don't you come home? And I was like, I'm not really sure what that means. What does come home mean? Because I had 3 dogs. Getting an apartment's not going to be easy, right? And he said, why don't you just come home? We'll figure it out from there. So I ended up moving in with my boyfriend who was dying of type 2 diabetes. And that's how I ended up with Sunrise Wellness Community, long story short, because I started studying holistic nutrition to try to keep him from dying. And through that, I ended up in a program where I became a holistic wellness practitioner. holistic nutrition is not my strong suit. I have someone that I direct people to. So I try to network with people that have other gifts, other ways of healing. And that's not my strong suit. But hypnotherapy has ended up being an absolute passion of mine. Stress management using hypnotherapy is, I think, so effective. And I think everybody needs to learn the tools I teach. And I think that so much that I actually give most of those tools. I give all of those tools away for free on my first session, because I just don't even know why we don't already know this. Like, why didn't we learn this in grade school? So I give all that away. And a lot of times when I give that away, people don't need me. And that's fine with me, because my passion is seeing people heal and learn how to heal themselves. So anyway, I ended up with that. And then while I was doing the holistic wellness practitioner, a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, he had been a hypnotherapist, and he had actually gone to prison for a long time, and he wanted to get his certification back, but he needed someone to work with, and asked me if I'd be willing to do it. And I started doing the hypnotherapy, and I fell absolutely in love with it. And when I couple that with the success coaching, it's like phenomenally effective. And so now, how does Sunrise Wellness come to be? This is like hilarious. So part of my school was, it's kind of a hippie school, right? It's a real school, but it's kind of a hippie school. I'm really a certified hippie now. This school, I had to do a vision board, right? So in this class, we're doing a vision board. We do all the meditation with it. Now I think that this is hokey, right? That's what I think about it, but I'm doing it because it's an assignment and I want to do my assignment. So I do my vision board. I do all of my meditations with it. I do all of that, and follow the directions, meditate on it morning and night, right? And fast forward a year after I got out of school, this friend of my boyfriend's was building this place out in San Leon, and he actually passed away mid-construction. His son's trying to get rid of it, and we buy it for a song and a prayer and finish the construction, and Sunrise Wellness becomes my passion. And I'm looking at it one day, I'm just kind of, because I love it. It's like a child, right? Like I just am in love with it. And I'm like, that's what's on my vision board. Like, this place is what was on my vision board. So I don't know, did I manifest it? I think I did, but some people might think I'm crazy. That's the way I feel, is that it was manifested out of a lot of prayer, a lot of action, a lot of meditation, a lot of the tools that I teach people now, because it works. It works. We opened on my 26th sober birthday. So it's April 22nd, 2 years ago. And so we were open almost a year before COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, do I see clients? What do I do? I didn't know what to do. So I started going to yoga school. So now I'm becoming a certified yoga instructor, because that was COVID's gift to me. And now I'm just doing whatever comes up, because, COVID kind of is making all my decisions for me. So I don't know, who knows what I could end up doing with this next gift of COVID. But anyway, so here I am, 28 years sober, living with my soulmate for many, many years. And we had a very rocky path to get together and to stay together. But here we are. And I'm doing everything I've ever wanted to do, but I never knew it.
Great story. Great. How is your partner's health? What's his name?
His name's Steve.
How's his health? Apparently he's not dying anymore.
No, he's great. He's great. He's lost 75 pounds, and his blood sugar is not where I want it to be, but it is not out of control now. And so he's doing really good, staying busy, lots of energy.
So another question, 2 parts, is, do you do hypnotherapy only in person, or can you do it on Zoom? And 2, do you treat anything besides stress? Like, do you do insomnia? Can you treat other things?
Well, okay. So on the first question is, I have started just recently doing virtual sessions. I was very nervous about that, because in hypnosis, I need to see your face. Like, your face tells me what's happening. I can read your body language and know if you're in hypnosis, even if you don't know you are. So I was nervous about that. but I kind of got tricked into doing it with a lady out of Wisconsin, and it went really well. So now I'm thinking I might be able to do that. Right. And then I don't really treat anything, right? But hypnosis is most effective in stress management. And I find that many things that people might come to me for are rooted in the stress anyway. And if we can find a way to manage the stress effectively, a lot of those secondary things that they may come in for kind of resolve themselves. So yes, I've done smoking cessation, sugar addiction, sleeping problems. Anxiety is the one that people come to me for most, though.
Got it. Cool.
So what could a client like that you would take on at Sunrise Wellness, what would they expect to have happen? Because I know that you do different things with different people. So like you kept saying, like, sometimes I give all this away or I give that away. What is this and that?
Well, so if you call me for a session, the first thing I'm going to do is just find out if what you are seeking help with, if it's in my wheelhouse. And that can be a lot of questions. Like one of my questions is always, are you on medication? Because if you're chemically hypnotized, sometimes that makes it impossible for me to hypnotize you. So I just need to know that so I know if I can be effective or not. So a long conversation is what they're going to expect first. Now, I think hypnosis can help anyone because it's just relaxation, right? So the first thing they're going to get is a lot of questions. And then if it's a good fit, if you're calling me for something that I can do, then we will schedule an appointment. The first appointment is a pretty long appointment because what I am doing is I'm telling you what hypnosis is, what it isn't. I am getting to know your subconscious mind and making sure that we're a good fit. If someone's coming to me, for example, and they have got some mental illness that is untreated, I may not be able to help them. And I don't want them to not seek the help they need because they're hoping this can circumvent it. Now, hypnosis can make almost anything more effective, whether that's pain management or some sort of a anxiety medication or something like that. Like it can make it even more effective. That first appointment is going to be a lot, but you're going to leave with tools. No one leaves the first appointment without some tools on how to manage their stress, some key things that we can do to rest better, stay less stressed, etc.
Gotcha. And when you started building and getting Sunrise Wellness up and going, can you tell us a little bit about the concept of what you have? Like you have a beautiful kitchen there. You have a nice patio out the back. It's like all nestled in like the beauty of kind of like very natural kind of back there. So like, what's that all about?
Okay. Well, on my vision board, so my boyfriend has 8 acres out in Hitchcock, Texas. He and I both have a real soft spot for our veterans, especially PTSD affected veterans. Neither of us were in the military. It's just I don't really know where it comes from, but we share that. My vision board is actually, this was one aspect of it, because the vision board was actually a community for veterans that have the scars of war that you may or may not be able to see, and using a lot of holistic modalities to try to help with that, whether it is yoga, meditation. So oddly, the vision was this space, and they told me not to be too attached to how it shows up, be willing to let it show up in a different way. It was a round building with a large community room in the middle where we could do like yoga and group meditation, but it had rooms to the side where we would have other healers, whether it was Reiki or massage or, hypnotherapy, acupuncture, whatever. And then it would be the communities where you lived, and there would be a community garden, a community kitchen, so that there was a sense of community there. And so where this actually showed up, just me needing to be open-minded that this is where I'm supposed to be now for this part of the journey. I don't think this is the end. I think this is just a step in that direction. And the fact that it ended up 2 blocks from the beach in San Leon, Texas, was just another gift from God. It's like, oh, that was a surprise. Yay. But San Leon, if you're not familiar with this area, is an area that has a lot of, it needs to be healed. There's a meth problem out here. There is a problem with drinking out here. It's a small fishing community with a big drinking problem and a big meth problem. So I feel like I've been put here. I've actually got a lot of school teachers that are coming to yoga classes and fitness classes, and they're really here for the spiritual healing. And they're like, oh my God, this community needs you so bad. So I just ended up where I was supposed to be. So my vision, I feel like my vision was like this, and God's vision was like, watch this.
It's cool.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. What is your favorite sound?
Running water, lapping waves.
What's your least favorite sound?
Screeching, any kind of screeching.
And what's your favorite word?
Peace.
So what's your least favorite word?
Moist.
Yeah. One of my wife's friends hates that. You can't even say it around her. It is kind of moist. It's kind of weird. What turns you on?
Laughter.
And what turns you off?
Anger.
And let's say that you could have done something else, another vocation. What do you think you would have loved to have a stab at?
I'm doing it. The deal is that I had a career that I really loved for 22 years, and I did not mean to retire. I just did what was in front of me to do, and I ended up doing what I've always wanted to do, but never knew it.
Cool. What vocation do you think you would have loathed having had to do your whole life?
When I was in high school, I wanted to be an attorney. I'm so grateful I'm not an attorney.
So what's the difference between a catfish and an attorney?
I don't know. Tell me.
One is a scum-sucking bottom dweller, and the other is a fish.
Yes.
All right. So
some terrible interactions with attorneys in my adult life, and I'm so glad I'm not an attorney.
Right back at you. My dad's an attorney. My brother's an attorney. Just a never-ending source of happiness, those guys. Let's assume there's a God. When you die and you're at heaven's gate, what words do you want to hear coming out of God's mouth?
Your dad wants to see you.
All right. Thank you for playing. Julie, I'll turn it over to you at this time.
Yes, thanks. So at Positive Recovery Centers, we use Dr. Power's positive intervention on a daily basis, not only with the clients that we serve, but also in our staffings and things like that. Each day we start with a quote. And so I shared this one with Trina, and I'm going to share it with our listeners now. Gratitude begins where my sense of entitlement ends, by Stephen Furtick. Our reading is: people are entitled to certain freedoms, such as a freedom of thought, speech, and religion, and the pursuit of happiness. People are not entitled to other things, such as power, other people's belongings, or the fulfillment of each and every desire. Life is tough. Entitlement, the wicked offspring of fear and insecurity, completely robs you of peace and resilience. Breath is guaranteed to no one. Life itself is a gift to be grateful for. Everything else is a bonus prize. Why do many focus on the things they want but don't have? They don't get enough gratitude from others. They don't make enough money. They aren't as wealthy or handsome or beautiful as someone else, and so on and so on. This attitude breeds nothing but dissatisfaction and contempt. And like Furtick said, lose entitlement and gain gratitude. So for today's PI, we asked Trina to go, and she actually started it a couple days ago, or a day yesterday. Go all day without a sense of entitlement. Focus on seeing how all you have is more than what you are, do, and more than what you need. Allow gratitude to fill your heart like a wellspring. Create a list of those aspects of life you frequently take for granted. For example, I am grateful to have lungs that breathe. I am grateful to have legs that walk. And I am grateful for potable drinking water when I am thirsty. Don't stop until you have at least 50 items on your list. So I will say that I should be saying that I am grateful for the fact that I need some reading glasses, because like trying to do this right now, I was like almost going cross-eyed. And then I have eyes that I can see with, although not as good as I normally do. So Trina, what kind of fun did you have with this? I know that you're always in gratitude, but what are some things that you, maybe aspects of your life that you frequently might take for granted?
Well, and when I was answering this question, I was thinking I'm so grateful for the lessons that I've learned over the last 28 years about gratitude. And then also through school. And that is, number one, gratitude is not a feeling, it's an action. Okay, so if I act in gratitude, then my behavior is going to be a reflection of that. And so I started I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I literally wake up every morning with my gratitude list going through my head. And I go to sleep every night with my gratitude list going through my head. And then like when I do my yoga, I end it with gratitude, and I go through being grateful for my mind, a healthy brain, eyes that see, ears that hear and listen, a mouth to speak my truth and also to speak my love for others, my lungs. I stay grateful for all of my body parts that I have over the years not been nice to, like my liver, my pancreas, my kidneys, my lungs. What I was thinking about was, like, for example, I forget to be grateful for my older sister because we don't see eye to eye. I forget to be grateful for the people in my life that might rub me the wrong way. Gratitude for the ability to, have the little things like clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. And I think that I do take that for granted, not on purpose. I try to be mindful that those are a gift and not everybody has that. But I really like that. It's like a memory muscle, right? Like I've really exercised that gratitude muscle over the last year, very intentionally, very on purpose. And I don't want to stop, because the more I focus on my gratitude, the more I have to be grateful for. And so I'm very grateful for that lesson. I did not think of it on my own. It was taught to me by someone wiser than myself. I don't remember who, but my teachers are everywhere. And so, it's the little things like just being great. I guess COVID kind of made me grateful for some things. That's when things are taken away from you, you're like, oh, I take that for granted that I can just run out to a restaurant and grab something to eat whenever I want to, because we couldn't do that for a while. Or I could just go, for me, to a 12-step meeting and hold hands and say a prayer and hug my friends. I'm more mindful of that now because it was taken away for a while. And so now I really, really try to savor every bit of those blessings that we have, that we're so blessed to have. I don't know if that's lame or not. It almost sounds like I should have a different kind of list, but it really is true. It may not be true next week, but it was this week.
Yeah, it's so far from lame. And, I've been in recovery for a while as well. And, go to many meetings, or I have gone, let me put it that way. I don't go to as many now, but, I have gone to a ton. And I've heard that gratitude is an action. It's actually in the book on one of the pages, but I have never understood it like the way I do now, having heard you say acting in gratitude. I always understood, gratitude is an action, meaning to like say you're grateful for something or write it down, but acting from a place of gratitude is exactly what I need. I hear a lot that I'm humble. So like, I guess sense of entitlement isn't something that comes out, but I can promise you my character defects, when I'm a petulant child, it is because of a sense of entitlement. Absolutely. And so what you said was more profound than you give yourself credit for. And thank you for being a teacher today, because I definitely had an like a little epiphany now. And I'm grateful to have you.
Thank you very much.
I'm always grateful to have you, Trina, in my life. And I know that some of our listeners will know you and want to check you out through Sunrise Wellness. So I hope that they do. I am better for having you in my life. I try very hard to do things in gratitude all the time. Although I will say that this week I had a little situation that occurred. It was my birthday this week. And on my birthday, my dad was having surgery. I just take for granted that he's always going to be there. And even to the point that like, I knew he was having surgery. I knew he was leaving for the hospital, that they had to be in the city by like 8:30. So I had like figured out like, oh yeah, I can just call him in the morning because he'll need to leave at 6:30. I'll be up. I'll call in the morning. So I could have made time. It's my dad. I took it for granted. Like, I'm going to call him in the morning. He'll answer. He's always there to answer the phone. Well, the hospital called him early to come in. Right. So I called and I got my stepmother, and she said, yeah, no, we had to get here early. So he's already in. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I took it for granted that he would answer the phone. This is horrible, because I just wanted to talk to him one last time before he went into surgery, because I was so fearful. of what could potentially happen. My sister and I had gotten together and had a conversation about dad having surgery. And if he has to have this surgery, that we're both going to be there for it. You know, she's in Israel and they have a lot of restrictions right now around travel. So she wasn't able to come in. And like, I was saying to them, like, I'm going to come. And they were like, you can't come because they have it restricted to that only one person can visit, can't swap out. We don't know, like, if you're traveling and you're around a lot of people, probably not a good idea anyways. But I took all that for granted because I'm just so like, my dad's always going to be there. And then all of a sudden I had that moment that I was like, oh, with this, I'm going to make sure that I'm not taking the people closest to me for granted. And I think that's where, like, sometimes if I'm doing that, it's with the people that are so close to me because I feel like they already know. Like, so I don't have to, keep doing that. And so with that, I'm going to end this podcast, turning it over to Dr. Powers, but first saying that I'm grateful for you, Trina. I'm grateful for you, Dr. Powers, and I love you both.
Thank you for sharing time with me.
Yeah, right back at you. And what a great way to spend our time. Thank you, Trina, so much. I wish you all the best. And for everybody who listened with us, thanks for joining us. Take care of yourself and each other, and talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Positive Recovery MD. Don't forget to visit positiverecoverymd.com to sign up to get your daily positive intervention sent straight to your inbox. Be sure to subscribe to Positive Recovery MD on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast to receive an automatic download when a new episode drops. And as always, if you or someone you know needs help, visit positiverecovery.com or call 877-4-SOBRIETY, which is 877-476-2743. We are here to help.